or not. We can do the same for organizations. Information about who may access what, contact details, what the organization owns, and for people, I think.
Can I ask a question in terms of the sort of combinatorial? Because it kind of all makes sense if everything is a unique entity, but the complexity of transactions would be just huge. So, aren't you in a kind of environment like this? Aren't you going to need to have groups, and then each of those groups becomes an entity in itself, and then membership, and then isn't it still going to be a big mess at the end of the day?
The mess is, let's put it like this. It's far a bit more, but it will be less messy.
But will it be more efficient?
Yeah.
In terms of energy?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because you don't use many nodes, physical nodes, like the current blockchain. You improve on speed, performance, cost, and energy usage, because you use less physical nodes and you do the distribution through virtual nodes. That makes it really compete with both the internet and with regular blockchain.
I have to say that I don't understand what that means. I don't know.
Well, physical nodes versus virtual nodes.
Yeah, and why that means, yes.
So right now you have many physical copy-pasted registers or database or ledgers, how you want to call it. Yeah.
So backups you're talking.
Yeah. So you have a huge redundancy.
Okay. Yeah.
The question is in the blockchain. The question is, do you need, in order to come to consensus, do you need that redundancy or not? Probably you don't, because what you typically see is that within any network, as Paul Barron already pointed out in the 60s and 70s, one of the founders of the internet, that a network typically runs 70 to 80% of transactions or actions on 5 to 20 nodes only. The rest, obviously it is there, but there's a lot of redundancy. And with that redundancy, you have cost, you have lack of performance, you have speed issues, many things.
I mean, if I can just suggest, so blockchain is very good for some things. It's not a good solution for this problem. So it just is, blockchain in its current configuration wouldn't solve this problem. It's just not the right chain.
Including you talk also about the new generation, which is not exactly blockchain. You know, the one that each one can get just information from and share with his friend, but not with all of them. It's
blockchain is great if you want an audit. If all of us could have our own node, it means that anyone does anything, we've all got our own audit of that, and it's very good integrity. For something like this, what you don't want is everyone to have their own node, because the byproduct is lack of performance and more complexity. Although the one thing, most of this I'm absolutely with, I was unsure about was your opening slide in this section regarding the ultimate security keys in governance. The root of everything I am concerned about, everything from there, I think is very good.
Yeah, no, really, that requires a lot of more. I try to simplify it here.
Is there a facsimile to help us understand what this is? Is it a programming language? Is it
it's an organisation of data.
Right.
Is what it is. So it's what it's doing is it's converting the technology to be far more like the real world. I haven't seen this before today, by the way, but I can see that in reality you exist once. On the internet you exist 1,000 times, and that makes no sense. If you change your email address, you've got 1,000 places to change it. All this does is organises data in such a way that it represents what happens in the real world. That's what this is doing.
And who's got to understand what for this to come to reality? At what scale? When you talk about critical mass or whatever, I mean, at what point does who's got to learn what?
It's all there. I guess everyone who needs to know things. There's enough people who know the right things. It's just about organisation. This is a project of organisation. Governance is clearly critical, and actually authentication needs a bit. I don't know if you're going to come to authentication, but
this is why. So this is why we started product authentication.
But so the human, because
no,
as long as you've got
of course,
Because that's the biggest problem with the internet at the minute, is there is no solution to authentication.
It is the authentication issue, and actually we can show things here where you can log in with your passport. And we have, I don't know that. No, but like border control, right? But we have there's security beyond border control even that we could put into this.
I'd ask, what is it you're trying to secure?
Indeed, there's many different things.
Another thing.
But and the authentication issue is indeed something that probably is the most difficult for rules that originate from organizations, then organizations itself that are several people, then people. The easiest thing is products, and that's why we start with products.
But I think you need to, authentication, I think that was going wrong.
Yeah.
Where I was going is not about how you control the authentication. How do you know the person? If Ami was to connect in, I could have taken his hand off and warmed it up. I could have got his eye. Which bit of it are you authentication?
Da Vinci Code.
That's a story. That's a story.
It's like a spy.
Just pointing to the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll
That's
have
a
the
big
story
topic.
offline, but there's really a lot of coverage on this. It is a big issue. But let's start with products. It's a bit easier to understand, and this is a way to get traction because there's a lot more products than there are people. It's international and it's over supply chains, and we start working together. Once you have the products, also people want to connect to it, and this is what we're also trying to make right now. What is also interesting is that not the supply chain stakeholders, but also the indirect stakeholders like banks, insurance, logistics can connect to the product, which is a completely different way of doing things. So, why is this interesting? First of all, the moment I have an audit trail from one application to another application to another application to another, I lose track. I can't find the provenance of my product or the ingredients. The moment an ingredient or product arises, is created, it is basically recorded with a number. The person doing that is recorded. The time, date, place, geographic location is recorded. So, in terms of audit, we're really focusing on the first mile in the supply chain. And it's quite hard to fraud when the person authenticated, location and time is there. It is clear who made the fraud in case it appears to be a fraud. So, chances are that the security on provenance detection really will improve and will be remained. It will not be affected by the other applications later on in the chain. And this is a way that we can really focus on sustainability, on sustainable supply chains. So this is actually one of the biggest use cases we're working on in several settings with banks and multinationals and retailers. Coming to the circular economy. Once material is being created and it's going in a kind of trip from one party to another, it's being reused. The history of the creation of the product basically stays with the product, which means if I want to recycle it or offer it to the market, then all the product history is already there, which is a huge stimulus for the circular economy. Ownership. Suppose I'm a farmer, and what we're currently doing, we're looking at some use cases in Africa where the farmer, the moment the farmer hands over the product physically to the cooperative or to somebody, loses any rights, can't do anything with it. But the moment the farmer still holds virtual property rights, it still holds property rights or ownership rights, which provides for far better negotiation dynamics for the farmer. Also, the bank can identify the product and basically say, hey, I financed the product, and I can finance the product several times in the supply chain. It's a lot more lucrative. And also the risk is lower, because the bank actually holds control over the collateral. Collateral registration. The bank really can say, I hold collateral on this, and I don't allow this to be sold in case the price is too low. But the bank also, in this case, can finance the farmer directly. in huge portfolios. And finally, access to finance becomes a possibility. Real-time taxation. The moment I know a product, I know its value, I know its jurisdiction, I basically can determine taxes and levy them in transactions.
The previous one, is that smart contracts?
Yes, you can put this in the smart contract. So the smart contract contains the product, what kind of category type, harmonized system, this is cocoa beans, what is the jurisdiction, what is the value, and then you can basically determine your VAT sales tax.
But also the farmer, retaining some rights until we release them. That's
Correct.
essentially a smart contract, right?
Yeah. What we put in all the different services into the box, you can consider that.
That's all collected smart contracts.
Yeah. So you have smart contracts at different levels, hierarchical levels.
Okay.
Regulatory compliance, dietary compliance, all things that become possible. Also, food security. The moment I can detect where my ingredients come from, there's a lot more food security in the supply chain. Also, quite relevant. When I do a recall, I don't have to call back the entire production. I just know where the batch went wrong and recall that. So there are several things where we're working on in distributed energy markets, sustainable supply chains, largest database on allergies and food intolerances, where we're trying to make this work. What we do here is the barcode. I explained a bit the barcode that can be copied, which we can do with new barcodes, which are not portrayed here, with the lithographic biometrics. And obviously there is stuff on NFCs with encryption, where we basically can ensure it's only this product and not another product. Basically what we have here is, the process is quite simple. Farmer goes with a phone to a barcode, initiates the geolocation, and a lot of information we're putting now together on deforestation, on environmental impact, biodiversity, water, area licenses, any geospatial information that can be connected to the geolocation we can put onto the product. And all these things can basically then happen automatically. This is obviously a great way to measure things like sustainable development goals in supply chain. What is the impact and how can we work with that? But also how can we enforce sustainable development goals? Because the moment the consumer asks in the end, I want something that doesn't have deforestation impact with this level of certainty. I want that to be produced at origin. That's a way actually that we can change behavior. And we obviously will reward that with different pricing schemes and other things, or exclusion, that we don't want to eat any cocoa paste when we know it has a deforestation impact. So this is a bit about the technology. I try to keep it relatively brief, but just to explain that we are moving to a user-centric internet, where we control our own data. What is quite relevant is that the dictionary we make is a hierarchical dictionary. So when we basically have a dictionary, English to Dutch in this case, we just see a list of different things. When we have the word bit in English, I don't know the context. I have a computer bit, a little bit of a horse, I have been bitten, whatever bit. I can't translate it. Neither can Google Translate or any of those apps, because I don't know the semantic context. So what we create a hierarchical dictionary, context within context within context within context. So we have the exact semantic meaning of something. That becomes a number, right? The extension, the semantic extension, 456 for net weight or something like that. The good thing is, because we have an exact semantic definition, 456 right now we have translated in over 80 languages. So when I put in net weight, I know in Dutch it's netto gewicht. And we support this for 80 languages, for over 80 languages. So the solutions we create right now in the supply chain, it doesn't matter whether you speak Polish, Khmer, Dutch, English, all these languages can interoperate with each other. We've tested this, accuracy is quite high. And this is how we create one language. It doesn't matter what language you speak in yourself, you can connect with these internet protocols also in other languages. So that's for the second part. Do we want to take a break, or should we move on? Money and finance, the third part.
We can move on.
Move on?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
We're still going strong?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So here we go into duality and non-duality. Perhaps then duality and non-duality starts making more sense. When we take a look at our current monetary system, we see a process of money creation that is quite in line with debt creation. And also money destruction is in line with debt destruction. But new money is coming, non-dualistic money. And this is obviously something we see in the crypto coin industry, where money is being created, a coin, without a direct relationship with debt. And you will see that this non-dualistic money will behave completely different from dualistic money. Now, why do we have dualism in our financial monetary system? And perhaps the cause of that is the way we account. And the way we account, invented in Italy, dualistically, is that we have a balance sheet with a passive and an active side. And our thinking basically is structured like this. We have means, and we put those means to use. So the means, debt and equity on the passive side go into the active side where we have our assets. Right? So our thinking is from right to left on the balance sheet. And this is actually also the way we manage banks. So the bank has a function as a debtor and as a creditor. We hold the deposits as a bank, and we give mortgages and corporate loans. We tend to think, this is also what we're being taught in university and everything, that the bank first needs to have the right-hand side in order, or you can do the left-hand side. So the bank first needs to have liquidity and capital, and then it can start creating some assets. And we think from right to left. Because if we start withdrawing all our deposits, we would basically be asking people to liquidate their mortgages. We have a kind of reserve buffer that we can take out a bit of money and there's a bit of reserve. If everybody would ask out the money, the bank has a problem. So this is the way we have that reserve buffer, which basically ensures that the system can work between the left and the right hand side. Now, what is actually happening is that the way we create loans, something different happens than most people think. We think that the moment we put money in the bank, there's actually money in the bank, but it's not. Basically, we hold a claim on the balance sheet of the bank, which is something completely different. So how is money created? I go to the bank and I want to buy a house. I have a mortgage. I want a mortgage. So I sign this document. Out of nothing, because of signing this document, I suddenly have debt. The bank is creating money out of nothing, not from the bank, for the bank, for me, against that debt instrument. And basically what we see is that the balance sheet is being lengthened. New money, new debt. But the interesting thing is that the bank, so administratively, it is processed at the same time. But basically, I first have to sign my debt document before the bank is giving me the money. The bank is not giving me the first the money and then I have to sign the debt document. So what we actually see is that money creation is an output of debt creation. And when that is happening, it is happening on both sides of the balance sheet. It also should be possible, otherwise the balance sheet will match. So this radically changes the way we think about banking. It's also the other way around. The moment I'm repaying my credit card debt, I basically first have to destroy part of my current account, and then also my credit card debt is being reduced to the same. And the balance sheet of the bank is shortened. So money destruction is first, debt destruction follows thereafter. And obviously we come into this balance sheet of the financial monetary system, and what we actually see holistically is that monetary debt of society equals monetary wealth of society. And this is quite dualistic. Obviously it depends a bit on what definition you will give, but at least for 95% this definition is true. But the story grows worse. Because what is happening when I sign my debt agreement? I have to pay interest. And interest is future debt. Future debt for which no future money is being created. Because for interest on deposits and current accounts, no money is being created. It's not that the bank can print new money. Here's your interest. So with positive interest rates, we always have more future debt than current money. And this is where the insustainability of the system comes in. If we don't have not sufficient current money for a future debt, we turn into a rat race. There's scarcity. So we start competing with each other. There's no system of abundance. We are profit-driven animals in order to pay our interest. The only way to pay my interest and my debt with current money that is not sufficient is that I grow my share in the money supply. But not everybody can grow their share in the money supply. Only those with a higher than average productivity growth. Take a look at the Eurozone. Northern Europe, higher than average productivity growth. They can pay back their debt. Southern Europe cannot. And they become increasingly on the debt side, whereas Northern Europe becomes on the positive side.
Can I just ask something? Is quantitative easing against debt, or is it just an issue of money against no specific debt? How does it fit into this conversation?
Basically what it's doing is making this game more synthetic. So it's creating new debt. When it's creating new money, it's creating new debt.
What was your question?
Quantitative easing.
Quantitative easing. So the issue of the money itself creates debt, just the other way around.
It's basically you create new money to buy existing debt, which is also debt, and it is basically you make this worse, but it's less in the real economy.
My question was also going to be, when you amplify this with high frequency trade, what is the what is your assessment of the effects of speculative finance?
I'll come back to that. Very relevant question.
You're not arguing for negative interest rates, are you? For walking straight into the central bank trap.
Indeed, we'll get to that as well. No, we get to that as well. Don't worry. You'll be pleased. So, what is happening? Because, I should go back one slide. Because we don't have enough money to pay back our debt, we need inflation. We need to create new money to pay for our interest portion, for which no money is there. But we've just seen that money creation is an output of debt creation.
Well, that's why governments always talk about growth.
Yeah,
all they focus on.
Yeah, which again carries interest. Now, the problem is that if we know that debt and money are basically the same sides of the different sides of the same balance sheet, and inflation is money growth exceeding productivity growth, then also debt growth exceeds productivity